Hello, we're joined by Tony Parks again, expert and author, and knows a lot about youth team football. Tony, Januzaj has come through our youth system recently. Have we got any other gems in there that we can expect to see making a big impact on the first team?
Not this season, but I think next season there's probably one or two that we could keep our eye open for. With the recent transfer activity, the loan transfer activity in the January window, it means that a lot of the under 18 and under 19 players that perhaps didn't get a chance to get some under 21 action, they will see some action in the second half of this campaign. Two or three names that come to mind would be James Wilson. He's picked up a couple of ankle injuries recently, but here's a player who's been phenomenal in the youth team. He's been a regular goal scorer for the under 18s. He definitely looks the business. He's got pace. He's got an eye for goal. I'd expect him to be pushing for selection, perhaps for the League Cup next term. Another player who we recently bought from FC Zurich, Sadie Janko, plays fullback and along the right side. Big, strong, powerful, fast player. I'd expect him to make some inroads. And the other one who sort of immediately comes to mind is Andreas Pereira, a very nice ball player, an eye for goal. He's playing exceptionally well in the Youth Cup this season. He started the season pretty quietly for the under-18s, but in recent times he seems to have taken control of games more regularly, seems to be asserting himself, which you'd want to expect from the player. So there's three names that perhaps people would have heard of that you might expect to come through. One or two others that you want to keep an eye out for might be Ben Pearson and Joe Rothwell. So there's a handful that have a chance. It just really depends on the next 12 months.
The under-21s, how have you assessed their season so far? After 12 games, they were in 7th, with the best defence in the league, having only conceded 12, but only scoring 19. Is there a reason we aren't scoring a lot of goals at that level?
Yeah, I think there's two reasons. I think if you look at our forward line, we've been pretty decimated throughout the club, not just at first team level for forwards. In our under-18s, James Wilson and Ashley Fletcher have been sidelined for periods of time. Will Keane for the under-21s is coming back from injury. Federico Makeda has been out on loan. Angelo Henriquez, Federico Makeda, all the forwards that you'd expect to be on the score sheet haven't been at the club. So we've been playing very much a 4-5-1 formation with a sole striker. And Januzaj was leading the line last season for much of that time. And with him being obviously involved in first-team action, we've had a lack of scorers. So if you look at the scoring charts for the under-21s, it's come from the likes of Lingard, from one or two others, and it's left us very light. So I'm not surprised that we're mid-table, and I'm not surprised we've got a decent defensive record, because they've been very tight games, all the ones we played in.
People had high hopes for Devon Petrucci. Do you think, has he fallen behind now? Is it likely that he'll make it?
I'd like to say he does. He's been a favourite of mine for some time. But as many of the listeners know, he had 2 years out with a very serious injury, both hip and knee injuries. And when you're 18, 19 and you've got 2 years of your career out, it's incredibly difficult to come back. He came back for half a season, went on loan to Peterborough, had 4 or 5 games down there, impressed, scored a goal or two, and people were hoping he'd made the breakthrough. He then picked up another injury, was out for half a season. He then went on loan to Royal Antwerp, and I think, unfortunately, his time has come and gone. He's a lovely ball player. He's got incredible vision, perhaps lacks a little bit of pace, and at 22 years old, he should have made the breakthrough now. And I think his time has come and gone.
What do you think it takes to make that transition from under-21 to first-team player? Because we've seen like Zaha's gone on loan because apparently he's not been pulling his socks up. Is it about dedication, or is it raw talent, or is it a complete mix of the two?
I think it's the mix of the two, and also I think taking your chances. One of the things that you saw with youth players, your young players, regardless whether they're youth players, but young players coming into the team, is they might only get 1 or 2 chances. So when Paul Pogba, for example, came into the first team, he made some nice passes. He looked obviously a decent player, but he wasn't controlling games. He wasn't making huge impact. When you saw Januzaj come into the team, particularly at Sunderland, he took the game by the neck. He scored 2 goals. He had people on his feet. he made a real impact. I think that what you have to do at youth level when you get up to first team level is you might only get that one chance. What are you going to do to really make an impact? I think Wilf Zaha has been perhaps overwhelmed by the size of the club. I think I don't know whether it's trying too hard or whether his decision-making is still a bit raw. I'm not sure. Obviously, the management team see him week in and week out in training, and they've made a decision to say that he's not ready. They put him out to Cardiff on loan for the rest of the season. Januzaj has obviously taken that chance. Other players haven't. So yes, I think you need the talent. Yes, I think you need the dedication. I also think you need a mindset that says, I'm only going to get one chance here. I'm going for it. Maybe an arrogance. Gary Neville mentioned this on Monday Night Football or on one of the Sky Sports channels when he said you need this ultra self-belief that borders on arrogance to make it walking in the team. And Januzaj's got that self-confidence.
Okay, just one thing before we finish. Do you think the under-21s are winning silverware this season?
No, not at all. I think there's too many other clubs who have got stronger outfits. We've sent most of our more developed players out on loan. So the majority of the players who are now coming into the under-21s would be last year's under-18 graduates. Those players have hardly had any football at all this season. They've had maybe one game a month, which was the UEFA Youth League. It's going to take time for those guys to gel. Obviously, we're hoping that they're going to be hungry. They're going to be wanting, football, which is great. I see this very much as a year of consolidation at under-21 level. Warren Joyce he's obviously got a tough task because he's going to have to take a brand new set of players and do his best to mold those into a team that can win games. So up in the first half of the table, top half of the table, certainly in the top four, maybe. Time will tell.
Much like the first team. Tony, thank you very much. We'll be catching up with you again this season to hear about the under-21s, the under-19s and the under-18s.
Cheers, guys.